Welcome in, Jacques, everyone. He is part of the private group and has been for the last couple of years. So, yeah, really appreciate your support here, mate. And we're going to get into your team. We'll do another member of the private group's team next week and kind of just get a general idea of where they start with in their squad, sort of even just how long you've been playing fantasy for as well, mate. And I absolutely love your team name. It's a little bit more original than the pain in my heart and all these type of ones that we've seen. So tell us a little bit about the name, mate. And you obviously had to have Cam in your team, right?
Yeah, no, I've got to have Cameron in my team. Name stems from just the school days when I used to watch him over at Newington. He was a really good player, a really good bloke, and just loved watching him play. So came up with the name about 10 years ago, maybe 9 years ago when I was in school in 2015, and haven't strayed away from it since.
That's cool. You've been playing since then?
Yeah, I've been playing since 2014, so since I was about 15 years old, very long time now. But strategy's changed over a couple of years recently, I think. I remember back in the day, Cam Smith was one of the players to always get, but strategy's shifted now.
You just followed the Cams the whole way, mate. You mentioned just before
Yeah,
we got on that Cam Murray or Payne Haas was the decision you were rocking with, and I was like, mate, surely if you're with a name like that, you have to go for Cam, don't you? Well, tell me why
yeah, I
you were
think
sort of rocking between both.
I was rocking between both because I think Payne Haas is more of a consistent scorer, but I think Cameron Murray he had a lot of demerits last season, and I've been watching a few of your videos on that as well.
Mm.
And I went through and analyzed the stats. He's got a lot of so-called attacking stats that I think the Bunnies can really take advantage of this year with the back line. And I just really hope that he gets back into form because last year he didn't really have much help around the middle. He was sort of trying to take on everything himself. Whereas Payne Haas had the luxury of all the Broncos halves and back steering him around the ship as well. So I really hope that he can get a couple 70s or 80s this year.
Beautiful. Yeah, guys, in this one, I'm going to be going through and sort of, helping Jacques if he has any questions, and he can ask me some questions on here as well. And that's the benefit of that private group. So that is closed for now, guys. But if you are interested, think about that for next year. That'll be awesome. Mate, any questions on this opening side for now? I have noticed it's fairly well balanced given you've got, Tommy Turbo down below, you've got Penasini in the centers. Is that something you look to create in your starting team, that type of balance? And yeah, any questions for me, mate?
Yeah, look, I always try to have a balanced approach when I start. In back in the days 2018, 2019, I remember you could start off with a few cheapies in the centers and the backs, but I tried that last year and it didn't really go well for me in the centers particularly. I didn't pick a gun center or someone that was around that middle mark, and it really was working to my detriment. I think I had Braden Burns in the team, and he just wasn't generating any cash. And same as Harley Smith Shields, I think it
Yeah.
was. So I just thought I'll just lock in one position in the wing fullback and the center this year, and just hope that I can stick with it. Even Trebojevic, the reason I've gone for him as opposed to someone like a Ponga is because if he gets injured, I can bank on the fact that maybe Ruben Garrick or Kula goes to fullback, and then Garrick also has that duel, and so does Kula. So hopefully I can use that to my advantage.
Yeah, okay, just to do like a straight swap. That's a good way to think about it for sure there, mate. Do you have a general idea of how many trades you used in that center position last year to try and get it right? Or did you get
Oh,
to like
yeah.
Jack Bird fairly quickly or anything like that?
Um, I didn't actually use any trades too early on, but I did get Jack Bird fairly quickly in the early rounds. But it was just not doing well for my score in the overall, and I ended up in the mid 5,000s or 6,000s at the start of the year, and then basically had to work my way up to the 1,000, 2,000 mark, which wasn't ideal. So
Hmm.
hopefully this year I can just get there straight away.
Yeah, for sure. And looking in your mids and your edges there, mate, obviously a decent amount of cover on that bench, but you're looking forward to sort of that mid-range value apart from Cam Murray up top there?
Yeah, I think mid-range value is the way to go this year. And I think the only way that's going to change is injuries in the first couple of rounds, which could happen, but that's how trades happen in fantasy. You just have to wait for a suspension or an injury to pounce on an opportunity to get someone with value.
Yeah, and what do you notice, mate, with sort of the mid price guys? Do you find them sort of, if they don't work out, very easy to are you someone that moves off them quickly, or do you find it easy to move to another option given they're sort of, a decent beefed up price, right, at 500 or something like that?
Yeah, that's exactly why I've got the center and the winger fullback also locked in at a sort of higher price, because if I really want to move one of those mid ranges into a top tier guy and one of the backs isn't doing anything for me, then I'll obviously just try and move them on, then free up the cash in the middle. But I think with Ruben Cotter in particular, with that injury to Cohen Hess, he should have some increased minutes this year. I think he averaged about 49 in 50 to 70 minutes when he plays that sort of range at prop and lock. So hopefully he can get back to that.
Yeah, definitely. Mate, just looking at your starting team here, I just wanted to note one thing, obviously, and this is going to be really helpful to the guys that are watching that are a bit newer to the game as well, is that you've got the majority of it correct here, but sitting there with Totola in your interchange, guys, just make sure that with Totola, he ends up slotting into that starting team. Even though he's cheaper than that of Cotter, having him there allows you more flexibility with your interchange and the emergencies, because if these guys lock out, you can only trade Cotter to a mid. Whereas if he's sitting on the interchange there and with the split TLT, something happens to him or something like that, you can change him to any position there. So make sure anyone who's playing in Vegas, guys, put them in that starting team. And in saying that, mate, you've got Totola, Murray, Tupanua, Piakura, Travojevic ×2, and then Cleary, who will be locked in. So I think that's 7 or 8, if I'm correct there. And in that case, mate, do you have a couple of different plans heading into next week's TLT if things don't go your way? Like, have you sort of some type of contingency plans if your emergencies here, like a Kane Bradley, happens to not be named on an edge? Do you have someone that you likely are going to switch him for? Nick Kotrick, if he's not named, that kind of thing. That's probably the only thing I'm worried about there for you, is that emergencies. And then obviously having Galvin, we're unsure of his role. I do like him, but we are still unsure of his role.
I've thrown up the idea of putting Ben Travojevic back on the bench and maybe putting someone like a Step Chris in the center role just for now. But I'm just really unsure of the Raiders backline, and it really, really does worry me quite a lot. And the other thing I'd really like to try and do is kind of get Keeney in the winger fullback position if possible. So maybe just bringing up some cash somewhere to do that. But at the same time, the only way I've tried to really do that is get rid of Fogarty and put Hutchison in the halfback role. But I really want Fogarty in there just because of his 50-point average when he doesn't have White in there with him, and I know what he can do with his kicking meters if he's fully fit.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Where do you think you'd take that money from if it didn't work out the way that you wanted to?
Yeah, that's one of the other issues I have as well. It's
$1 million
really
question.
it's really tough. I have another build where I have instead of Cam Murray, I have Payne Haas there, and then I have Hutchison at halfback and not Fogarty, and it has like maybe 100k remaining, so I can free up some cash elsewhere. But I think this is one of the most balanced sides I have at the moment. But really, it's just the center position with Ben Travojevic. If I can find someone I can put in there instead of him, and then put him on maybe the bench and loop him, that would be one of the best decisions I could do. But apart from that, I really want to have someone at center wing fullback dual on my bench as well, just because the buy rounds last year in particular, with the new system with the Dolphins coming in, it's really important that you have cover everywhere, because you have no idea who's going to get injured, and it could really help you save one or two vital trades come the end of the season.
Yeah, that's the biggest part of it. You can probably cop the points. Hey, it's those trades that, it might be 20 points so you cop 1 week in a loss, but that trade could be like 60 or 100 or 150 points, depending on, if you make it in, let's just say you made it in round 16 there, when you're like, oh, I need to conserve a bit, but you had that extra one up your sleeve and you get that gun, gets you that extra score that week, and then you get the benefit of it from there. So yeah, that trade is massive and awesome. Awesome thoughts on the cover. Yeah, that's just the worry. Hey, if let's say Seb Chris is the guy, and that would work great with your setup with Penasini, Trebojevic, Chris. But then, where does it come from? Would you drop down from one of your, like a Totola or Tupanua or something like that? Or
I think I'd have to drop to Tola or Tupanua and potentially have to just cop one of the smaller sort of value guys in my interchange on the fourth sort of side. But at the same time, in previous years, we've had people 230, 250,000 start in games, and these people on the bench this year, they don't seem to lock down a starting role. Like Bradley might be the only person who could, but I don't like how Craig Bellamy sort of does things in trials, because he'll change stuff straight up without telling anyone. So
Yeah.
He's very unpredictable, and same with Trent Robertson with his forward pack rotation. So that's the only worry I'd have with Tupanua.
Yeah, they're the two weird ones right now, isn't it? That Kane Bradley situation and then the Wong situation, only playing sort of limited minutes in the trials. But did you see did you follow Rugby League Guru?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
follow
that
him. He
one
loves him.
when he was talking to Connor Watson today or yesterday on his story, and he was like, "Yeah, who's there could be anything," and he's like, "Come on, you know who it is." And Connor Watson talked
Yeah,
up Wong something fierce, and I was like, "Oh God, everyone's gonna own him now, surely."
yeah.
So
I even had a look at the Tupanua stuff just recently from 2022 and 2023, and he didn't actually play second row for 80 minutes at all in 2023. And
mm,
then in 2022, he played quite a lot. So I'm really unsure of what his role is going to be, whether he shifts back to the middle or just plays 50 or 60 minutes. But I think it's a bit of a safer option than Wong at this point because he's more experienced in the team. That's purely the only reason I've gone for him.
yeah, his issue, mate, is the he did his ACL in 2022. And
Yeah,
then 2023 just like worked him back through the bench, and they had enough sort of edges, and he didn't look his best except for a couple of
yeah,
games there. He
exactly.
kind of had a really good couple, like he hit like a point a minute 40 odd at one point and stuff like that. And then he had some neck issues as well. So it looks like he in those trials he looked good, which we didn't really see that last year. So that's probably like the benefit for him. There's still risk in him as well. And as I was saying in the other video, I think like him and Wong are still a bit gross. But they're so
Yeah,
cheap, right? And could definitely have that upside. So yeah, a few things to think about, mate, obviously for sure. But yeah, the big worry there is that this weekend is that how many players will lock out for us. And a lot of them are kind of your value guys that you may look to change. Have you thought of if things go wrong, would you play around with like Penasini going down, or have you mucked around with Grant or Treboy? Or oh, you can't move Tommy actually, but yeah, those two.
yeah, I've mucked around with that before. So the other thing I do is potentially, another thing that's really tough is Brandon Smith also plays in the
Yeah.
first one or two rounds. So I would get rid of Grant and put potentially Brandon Smith there, and then put Payne Haas instead of Cam Murray, and then put Ben Trebojevic to the bench and put Chris to center, so I can loop him.
Mm.
But I'm just not too keen on Brandon Smith after what he did to me last year. I think I traded him out about 3 times and traded him back in, and he burnt me. So
Oh, did you do that many? I
not,
think I did.
yeah,
I think
not,
I did
I
twice.
know, 3 times. So I'm not too
Ability
keen on
three.
him. And I'd rather just get Harry Grant at the start just so I can keep him in my squad.
Yeah, he's someone that I was just thinking about the other day that last year we had him, he was over 800K, way over. And I didn't start with him and he crushed it. This year he's less than that and people aren't
Yeah,
interested. It's interesting.
he
I
seems,
do understand with the
yeah,
buy, the tougher draw and stuff, but it's similar to that like Cam Murray situation. Like I bought him last year at over 900K. So it's like, well, why wouldn't I buy him this year at 787? He's still the same player. Just things like that
still
that
the same thing.
just kind of when you actually think about it, it seems like a no-brainer. So like just do it.
Yeah, I
We do
think with
have
Harry Grant, it's the round 4 buy that people are worried about and the
yeah,
tough draw at the start. But he seems to always perform in really, really big games versus top tier teams. So
yeah.
if you go look back at the scores he's got against some of these teams, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Some of the top sides.
Are you looking at it
When he
now?
when he came to, yeah, I'm having a look at that
Name a
now. Even
couple
the
for the audience for us.
Yeah, so I'll just go back to some of his stats for
Because
last season.
it's like these Grants, the Clearys, like the best players in the game. They have 80s, they have hundreds, like Cleary does against the best team. So
Yeah,
sometimes they can get cheap
the
tries. Go
Dol
for it.
yeah, so the Dolphins and the Cowboys, who were not exactly too hot flash last year around the middle of the year, he got 43 and 39, but then he seems to do well. Panthers, he got 54. The Eels, he got 73. The Rabbitohs, he got 87. And the Eels again, he got 76. The Warriors, he got 77.
Mm.
Broncos, he got 55. Some of these lower tier sides, like the Knights towards the start of the year, 33. So he seems to really relish that role. And I think also at that point in time, Craig Bellamy really does trust him to play the 80 minutes, whereas a few of the other games, if they're winning comfortably, he'll actually take him off and put someone else at hooker. Like in previous years, it was a Tyson Smoothie or Brandon Smith.
Yeah, I suppose that, yeah. And usually you see that with Cleary and stuff as well. If they ever get a spell in a game, it's because they've done a lot and they've brained it, right?
Exactly,
So
yeah.
yeah, so that's fine. But yeah, I suppose at least you've got maybe Penasini could be the mover for you if you do need to free up a little bit of cash, or or something like that. And yeah, that's just probably my only advice to yourself and everyone out there, is just have some type of general plan. Like if we don't get the Lussick, if we don't get the 80-minute Lussick or hands, then we've got to do something with that as well. So I suppose that at that price, it's pretty fine to transfer over, but just have a sort of a general plan when you're going through your teams, guys, especially, and just make sure as well, a few people asking me again after I did my team reveal, but make sure you have your full team set up, not just the guys that are playing in Vegas, because your team will be invalid and you'll score 0 and you'll hate life. So sort that out. Any final words, mate, on your side? I really appreciate you coming on. It's been awesome. I think that's been super helpful for everyone.
No, that's all right. I just think it's important for everyone to make sure they have cover on the bench on the emergencies for every single position, because that's something that often people don't take into consideration each year, and it really can burn you towards the end of the year. So that's all I'd have to say.
Amazing, mate. Guys, expect this video will come out first, and then you'll have the Supercoach reveals later today, and I'll leave it for Sunday for you guys just to make your changes in your side. We have 1 day to go, guys. Almost 24 hours now. I'm super excited. I know we all are. We've been waiting for this for 3 months. So massive thank you to all of you guys for watching across the preseason, and I hope you can stick with us throughout the season there. Get in those head-to-head comps, get in your overall leagues, just so you've got, if your overall starts going terrible, you can focus on the head-to-head and still have a great season. So thanks, Jacques, for coming on, and appreciate all you guys for watching.